close your eyes, and then let's get going to Sleeptown for a new story tonight. Christopher and Sarah's Snowy Adventure. One chilly winter afternoon, Christopher the rabbit and Sarah the squirrel were heading home from school. Big, soft snowflakes danced through the air, swirling around them in the middle of a snowstorm. The cold wind whispered through the trees, its icy fingers gently tugging at their scarves. Their cozy house was just beyond the snowy woods, but before they could get there, they had an important task to do. "We need to find 12 acorns," said Sarah, her voice soft against the gentle hiss of the falling snow. She pulled out a small basket, its woven sides creaking slightly as she held it up. "We can't go home until we have them all." Christopher nodded, adjusting his scarf so it snugly wrapped around his neck, feeling the warm, woolen fabric against his fur. "Let's count them carefully as we go, so we don't miss any." And so, with snow crunching beneath their little feet, a satisfying, soft crunch, crunch, the pair set off to search for acorns in the snow. The cold air nipped at their noses, and their breath puffed out in tiny clouds. "Look, I see one," Christopher shouted, his voice cutting through the soft stillness of the snowy woods. He bent down, his paws brushing the cool, powdery snow aside. The acorn peeked out, smooth and shiny, nestled in the white blanket of snow. He picked it up slowly, feeling its firm texture against his fingertips. "That's one," he said, dropping it into the basket with a soft clink. Sarah smiled, her face glowing pink in the cold air, and together they continued their search. Each step made that comforting crunch beneath their boots. And every so often, they would find another acorn, its smooth surface almost glowing in the soft moonlight. 2, 3, 4. They counted together, their voices quiet and rhythmic, blending with the gentle hush of the falling snow. The basket slowly filled, the sound of each acorn tapping lightly against the others. Suddenly, as Christopher and Sarah were crouching to pick up another acorn, a strange sound interrupted the peaceful quiet of the snowy woods. It was faint at first, like a soft shuffle or whisper, but soon it grew louder, a faint rustling from the bushes ahead. The gentle crunch of footsteps in the snow that wasn't theirs. Christopher's long ears perked up, his breath catching in his chest. He glanced at Sarah, who had frozen in place, her eyes wide and bright. The basket of acorns dangled from her paw, but neither of them moved. "Did you hear that?" Sarah whispered, her voice barely louder than the snowflakes landing on the ground around them. Christopher nodded, his heart thumping softly in his chest. The snowstorm seemed to hush, the air heavy with stillness. The rustling grew closer. a low murmur accompanying it, almost like a voice, but so muffled by the snow it was hard to tell where it was coming from. "Who's there?" Christopher called out, his voice wavering just a little as it broke through the crisp, cold air. There was no response, only the eerie rustling continuing from behind the snow-covered trees. The two friends stood still, the cold air prickling their fur as they strained their eyes to see what, or who, was moving in the shadows. A sudden gust of wind stirred the branches. Making the snow fall in soft, fluttering cascades from the trees. But still, no one emerged. Just as Sarah took a cautious step forward, the rustling stopped. The air around them became unnervingly quiet, save for the soft crackle of distant ice shifting under the weight of the snow. "I don't like this," Sarah whispered, her paw gripping the basket tightly. The wood creaked under her hold. Before Christopher could reply, the sound came again, louder this time. It was a deep, low rumble, like a voice carried on the wind, but so deep that it almost vibrated through the ground beneath their feet. The voice wasn't clear, more like a low, gravelly murmur, sending a chill that wasn't just from the cold through Christopher's spine. "Stay close," Christopher whispered back, his voice steadying as he took a cautious step toward the sound. His feet crunched softly in the snow as he inched forward, his heart racing. The bushes ahead seemed to tremble, as if something large was just behind them, watching. Suddenly, a large shape moved. It was slow, but definite, a hulking figure emerging from behind a snow-covered tree, its form becoming clearer in the dim light of the setting sun. The figure groaned softly. Its movements heavy, dragging through the snow as it came into view. Both Christopher and Sarah held their breath, gripping each other's paws. The shadow moved closer, revealing fur dusted with snow and large, lumbering paws. And then, from beneath the snow-covered branches, out stepped Benjamin Badger. Christopher and Sarah both let out the breath they had been holding in a rush, their tense bodies relaxing as they recognized their friend. "Benjamin," Sarah exclaimed, a mix of relief and confusion in her voice. "It was you." Benjamin Badger looked up at them, his broad face looking a little sad and tired. Snow clung to his thick fur, and his large paws dragged slightly as he walked toward them. Leaving deep tracks in the snow. His eyes were downcast, and there was a faint, rumbling sigh as he spoke. "Hello, Christopher and Sarah," Benjamin said, his deep voice still soft and low, though now filled with a heavy sadness. The sound of his voice had lost its mystery, but carried the weight of someone deeply troubled. "I've lost my favorite necklace. I was going to give it to my grandmother, but now I can't find it anywhere." His words hung in the cold air, and Sarah's heart softened immediately. All the mystery, all the fear from moments ago, melted away with the sight of their friend in need. She looked up at Christopher, and they shared a glance, already knowing what to do. Benjamin's face brightened, his eyes twinkling with relief. "Thank you so much," he rumbled. "I last had it near the old oak tree." The old oak tree stood tall and proud, its massive trunk a deep, rich brown that seemed to hold the wisdom of many seasons. The bark was rough and textured, with countless bumps and knots that told stories of time passing, each imperfection adding character to its strong stature. As you run your fingers along the trunk, you can feel the coolness of the wood combined with the gentle scratchiness of its surface. Creating a satisfying sensation that draws you closer. Its sturdy branches stretched wide, reaching out like welcoming arms, creating a sprawling canopy overhead. Each branch was thick and gnarled, perfectly suited for little paws to grasp as they climbed higher. The leaves danced above, shimmering in the gentle breeze, their soft, rustling sound reminiscent of whispers in the wind, adding a layer of enchantment to the scene. The leaves, with their vibrant greens and occasional golden tips, shimmered like emeralds under the sunlight, casting playful shadows on the ground below. Looking up from the base of the tree, you could see the branches swaying gently, beckoning adventurers to climb and explore. It was the perfect climbing tree, easy to scale with its low-hanging branches. The idea of clambering up, feeling the rough bark against your hands, and the exhilaration of reaching new heights filled you with a sense of freedom. From the top, one could see the entire world around. The snowy woods stretching endlessly, the soft glow of the setting sun painting the sky in shades of pink and orange, and the cozy homes nestled in the distance. As you listen closely, the tree seemed to breathe, the creaking of its branches harmonizing with the gentle rustle of leaves, creating a calming melody that filled the air with a sense of peace and adventure. It was a place where dreams could soar and stories could unfold, making it the perfect spot for Benjamin to have last seen his cherished necklace. Together, the three friends walked through the snow toward the oak tree, searching carefully. The wind howled and the snow blew around them, but they didn't give up. The three friends trudged through the snow. The soft wind whispering in their ears, occasionally sending tiny flurries of snowflakes swirling around their faces, tickling their noses. As they neared the oak tree, the cold air seemed to grow still. Christopher's ears perked up as they carefully searched the snowy ground. After a little while, Sarah's eyes sparkled. "I found it," she cried, her voice light and bright as it echoed through the quiet woods. She bent down, her fingers brushing the icy snow, feeling the cool, smooth surface of the necklace's pendant. She held it up triumphantly, the metal catching the moonlight and glinting brightly. "Oh, thank you," Benjamin said, his voice filled with warmth. He took the necklace gently, holding it close. "Now I can give it to my grandmother." With their hearts warm from helping a friend, Christopher and Sarah went back to looking for the last 4 acorns. The snow crunched beneath their feet. A soft, rhythmic crunch, crunch, with every step. 8, 9, 10, counted Christopher as they found acorns along their path, each one making a satisfying plunk as it dropped into the basket. 11, 12, shouted Sarah, her voice filled with joy as she picked up the final one. It felt cool and solid in her palm as she dropped it into the basket. "We did it." The 2 friends hurried home, the cold air biting at their cheeks and noses, their tummies rumbling softly from hunger. The snowstorm began to quiet down, and as they approached their house, the golden glow from the windows seemed to beckon them inside. As soon as they stepped through the door, the warmth wrapped around them like a thick, comforting blanket, and the sound of the crackling fire welcomed them home. The soft, steady pop and hiss of the fire filled the room. Casting flickering shadows on the walls. Christopher and Sarah quickly peeled off their snowy clothes, their fingers tingling as they warmed up. They slipped into their warm pajamas, the fabric soft against their skin, like a gentle, comforting hug. They nestled down by the fireplace, wrapping their thick blankets tightly around themselves. The fire crackled and popped. Sending gentle waves of heat washing over them. It was a comforting, soothing warmth, and the soft light made the room feel like a safe, glowing bubble. Suddenly, Christopher sat up. "Oh no, Sarah," he gasped, his voice filled with realization. We forgot something. Sarah blinked, her body sinking deeper into the warmth. What did we forget? The sticks. We still need to collect 8 sticks for the fire, Christopher said urgently, the crackle of the fire underscoring his words. If we don't, it might go out. Their mom's voice was soft and warm, like the glow of the fire itself. Why don't you ask Stickman Sam? He'll know just where to find them. Together they hurried out into the snowy night. Their breath visible in the frosty air. The snow crunched softly underfoot. And the quiet thud of their footsteps made the world feel hushed and still. Stickman Sam welcomed them with a broad grin, and soon the 3 friends set off to find the sticks. There's one, Sarah said, pointing to a stick buried beneath the snow. The cold wood was rough and sturdy in their hands as they picked it up. That's one, Christopher whispered. One by one, they found each stick, the gentle clink of the wood against the basket soft and satisfying, their voices quiet in the cold air. Finally, with all 8 sticks in the basket, they hurried back home. The fire crackled warmly as they placed the sticks beside it, its heat spreading through the room like a wave of comfort. Christopher and Sarah slipped back into their blankets, the soft fabric rubbing against their fur like a gentle caress. After helping Benjamin find his necklace and collecting all the acorns, Christopher and Sarah were finally home, feeling proud of their adventure, but completely exhausted. The fireplace crackled softly, filling the room with a gentle, comforting glow, and their mom greeted them with warm smiles. Now it's time to get ready for bed, their mom said softly, her voice calm and soothing, like a lullaby in the air. Christopher and Sarah nodded, feeling the pleasant weight of sleep tugging at their eyes. But first, they had a few things to do. They made their way to the bathroom, where their mom handed them their little brushes. The bristles were soft and gentle, gliding through their fur with a quiet, rhythmic swish. Swish. Each stroke of the brush made a delicate whispering sound, like the soft breeze in the trees outside. Sarah ran her brush through her fluffy tail. The gentle shh sound of the bristles smoothing her fur was oddly satisfying, as if every stroke was brushing away the day's worries. Christopher smiled at his reflection in the mirror as he brushed his ears. The soft, repetitive strokes felt so calming, like the world was slowing down around him. His mom's voice was gentle in the background, humming quietly as the soft brushing continued. Next, they grabbed their little toothbrushes, each one making a faint tap-tap as they set them on the sink. The scritch-scritch sound of the bristles against their teeth echoed softly in the bathroom. comforting and familiar sound as the minty foam bubbled up. The swish of the water in the sink made a pleasant rushing noise, like a gentle stream flowing in the woods. Sarah smiled at the sound of Christopher's brushing, scritch, scritch, as they both worked the toothpaste into little bubbles. The sensation of the toothbrush bristles sweeping back and forth over their teeth was soothing, a gentle rhythm that eased the last bit of energy from their bodies. They rinsed their mouths with a swish swish and a gentle tink as their cups tapped the sink's edge. With clean teeth and brushed hair, it was time to wash their faces. The water trickled from the faucet, making a light drip, drip, drip sound as it filled their paws. The cool water splashed gently against their fur, creating a soft splash, splash sound as it fell into the sink. The sensation was refreshing, and the quiet sound of water swirling around their fingers felt like a small waterfall dancing in the quiet room. Christopher closed his eyes as he gently washed his face, the cold water making his fur tingle pleasantly. The little droplets fell from his paws, each one making a delicate plop into the sink. Sarah mimicked his movements, her small paws moving in slow circles as she wiped away the day's snowflakes and adventure. When they were all clean and brushed, they headed to their bedroom. As they pulled the soft fabric over their fur, the quiet rustle of the cotton echoed softly in the room. The soft whisk-whisk sound of the fabric as they moved was soothing, like the gentle rustling of leaves in the wind. Christopher's ears flicked as he heard Sarah's pajamas swish as she turned around, the sound of the fabric brushing softly against the bed. Finally, they climbed into their beds, the sheets making a soft crinkle as they tucked themselves in. The weight of the blankets felt like a warm hug, and the whoosh of the fabric settling around them filled the air with a quiet, peaceful noise. Their heads sank into their pillows with a soft poof, and they snuggled deeper into the cozy warmth. The fire in the hearth still crackled faintly in the background. Its gentle pop, pop, and hiss sending waves of warmth throughout the room. Christopher and Sarah's eyelids were growing heavier by the second, the weight of the day's adventure finally catching up with them. Their mom leaned over, smoothing their fur with a final stroke, the sound of her paws softly brushing against their heads like a final lullaby. "Good night, my little adventurers," she whispered, her voice soft like the snow falling outside. And with that, they drifted off to sleep, the quiet sounds of the fire, the softness of their blankets, and the soothing rhythm of the house lulling them into peaceful dreams of snowy woods and more adventures to come. The last thing they remembered was the gentle sound of the snowstorm fading away outside, the fire's warmth enveloping them,